Greetings of the summer solstice, 2024. It's the longest day of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere. Uh, Constance and I were talking this morning about the solstice and this time of year, this official beginning of summer, and what it sort of evokes in the soul. And Constance sort of pinpointed it pretty well. Now, we both come from a generation where uh, a normal sort of middle class family, and there was a middle class in the 50s and late 40s, 50s, and 60s. Um, the father worked, and sometimes the mother had a job too. But most of the kids I went to school with in the first 10 years or so uh, had sort of a, a stable uh, home life. Um, it wasn't all that healthy or it wasn't superior or anything else, but we all sort of had it in common. And uh, the fathers worked and they worked hard, and they were probably the main source of income. They were the breadwinner, they were called. Um, and the mother, if she worked, she most often stayed home for the first uh, 5 or 6 years of the child's life, and so the child was raised with a relative in the house, and not go off to preschool, kindergarten, and things like that. And so it was. Uh, and if the mother went to work, she usually did that after the child was off in school and 6, 7 years old, like that. It was it was sort of a father knows best uh, kind Ozzie and Harriet kind of existence. And there's been movies that sort of make fun of it or poke at it because it was such a kind of a uh, shallow shallow kind of existence, but it was warm, and it was comfortable. And for me, and for many of you perhaps, um, school was unpleasant. For the most part, unpleasant. I always had great hopes in the fall that I was going to be a good student and it was going to work out okay. And no, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll get an education. And just school, just immediately the first couple of days, this is going to be crap. I'm going to hate every minute of this. And and you look forward to summertime. You look forward, and we got a summer vacation. Okay, we were out of there in late June. Okay, the school ended, and if you were lucky, and if your parents were thoughtful and had enough resources, the family went on a vacation somewhere, usually a car trip. And it was the one thing that my father was especially uh, punctual in doing it. We went on vacations. He worked his ass off in order to get 2 weeks in the summertime. And they do this in Europe all the time. Okay. They still do. They get a lot of time off. Okay. 2 weeks. And we planned a vacation. And usually we went back and forth between California and Nebraska, where my mother had relatives. And then once we moved to Nebraska, we took our vacations to revisit all friends in California. And on the way, we stopped at tourist places: Carlsbad Caverns, Yellowstone Park, the Painted Desert, stuff like that. And we'd go through and stop at restaurants along the way. I had tamales, and I got to eat something that wasn't my mother's fried chicken and mashed potatoes. It was wonderful. And on the last day of school, like today, I was so excited, and there was a joy in my heart. It was a release. It was a moment. It was an initiation of just pure joy. We're getting the hell out of wherever the hell we were, and we're going on an adventure. See new things, see new people, eat new foods, and just sort of be in our family unit, uh, pissing in jars in the back seat so Dad wouldn't have to stop. It was the point I'm trying to make is whether or not you were lucky enough to have an experience like that, there is a moment, a triggering moment of joy that you receive, uh, usually associated with today or around the summer solstice. Somewhere in your memory banks, there's a moment when you were young enough to have everything before you, and you're released from a prison of some kind, restriction of some kind, and it's like the sun itself brings you this moment of joy in its light, in its heat, in its bright promise of an adventure. So I guess what I'm saying this morning, before I do a little thing here, is try to reach back and find that moment. Find a moment like that in your past, associated with this time of year, and remember it, and try to recapture that feeling, that joy. Just for a split second, just try to recapture that, and then associate it with the sun. Now, like in Enochian magic, each of the 4 elemental tablets has a sun senior. They have 7 seniors, okay? Planetary seniors. But the sun senior is the king. It's the king of the whole board. You got a sun king of fire. You got a sun king of water. You got a sun king of air and earth. And their names are drawn off the very center of this 13 by 12 square of angel letters, okay? And it starts right just slightly to the left of the very center, and it does a spiral just like that. It's like an upside down lowercase e. And it's like the sun. The sun. Okay. I use it uh, in my pentagram rituals. And instead of stabbing a dagger in the center of your quarters, I'll go. Okay. Anyway, that's my little solar reminiscence. In Crowley's Rites of Eleusis, okay, the Rites of Eleusis are the seven planetary dramatic rituals. Okay, and Crowley wrote the libretto for it, but he uses a lot of poetry from other poems that he admired, and a lot of Swinburne and lots of Shelley. Okay, and I love Shelley and Swinburne too. Uh, but each of the rites, it's kind of funny because they come in an order, uh, and it's the same descending order of the tree of life, starting with number 3, Saturn, and then number 4, Jupiter is next, and then Mars is next, and then the Sun is next, and then Venus and Mercury and Luna. That's the order. So each of the rites um, celebrates for a moment the essence of that, if we look at it metaphorically, that God. Okay, it celebrates just for a moment. Okay, here I'm Saturn. I'm really subtle, obscure. Okay, but the whole dynamics of each of those rites concerns the degeneration and the fall of that particular deity to give birth to the next one. Okay, so the drama isn't in the exaltation part, because that just comes at the very beginning. The drama comes just, what are the forces involved in this lightning flash that comes down your tree of life? How does spirit become matter? How does the climax of the descent into matter and you and me, how does that happen? And so that's the 7-act drama of Crowley's Rites of Eleusis. And for years, we did the entire series in our home, in our backyards, out in the woods, uh, in our OTO lodge, with Monday night magic classes, members playing parts, and it was funky. We didn't. Few of us memorized a few things, but mostly we were doing it with scripts in our hands, but great costumes. Um, and in the rite of Mars, okay, Mars on the tree of life, Mars comes before the sun. Okay, 5 comes before 6, except for on the tree of life. Uh, so at the very end of Mars, it's the sun that takes over. So there's all sorts of martial stuff that's going on during the rite of Mars, but in the background is this veil, a bright veil, and in that veil is who they call brother Aries. Okay. And one year it was me, and I was behind the veil for the whole ritual, except at the very end. And I was behind the veil, and one year uh, I was in a white nemes, yeah, golden nemes, and a white robe with leopard skin uh, faux. Uh, and they painted my whole face and beard even. I didn't shave for this. Uh, that gold. Okay, so I was totally gold. I was golden, had a spear. Okay, because at the very end, the sun was going to be revealed because it's the sun that's taking over. And I got a picture of it someplace. I'll see if I've got it on Facebook somewhere. I'll try to redo it. But here's what the sun says as it takes over, like today. And it's a poem. Don't worry, it's really short. It's by Shelley. It's called The Chorus from Hellas, or Greece, idealized Greece, magical Greece. The world's great age begins anew. The golden years return. The earth doth like a snake renew her winter weeds outworn. Heaven smiles and faiths and empires gleam like wrecks of a dissolving dream. A brighter Hellas rears its mountains from waves serener far. A new Peneus rolls his fountains against the morning star. Where fairer tempests bloom, there sleep young Cyclades on a sunnier deep. A loftier Argo cleaves the main, fraught with a latter prize. Another Orpheus sings again and loves and weeps and dies. A new Ulysses leaves once more Calypso for his native shore. Oh, write no more the tale of Troy, if death's scroll must be, nor mix with lion rage the joy which dawns upon the free. Although a subtler Sphinx renew riddles of death Thebes never knew, another Athens shall arise, and to remoter time bequeath like sunset to the skies the splendor of its prime, and leave, if not so bright may live, all earth can take or heaven can give. Saturn and love their long repose shall burst, more bright and good than all who fell, than one who rose, than many unsubdued. Not gold, not blood, not their altars' dowers, but votive tears and symbol flowers. O cease, must hate and death return? Cease, must men kill and die? Cease, drain not to its dregs the urn of bitter prophecy. The world is weary of the past. Oh, might it die and rest at last. Drain not to its dregs the urn of bitter prophecy. That's my favorite line. Okay, that's the announcement of the sun taking over from the martial violence of Mars. And Mars is happy in the right. He's happy give up his throne for that. Then the beginning of the Rite of Saul has another tiny little poem where the two guardians of the shrine of the sun, Brother Leo and Brother Aries, uh, announce themselves, uh, and they adore the sun. They adore their boss for a moment. And Leo does this other thing from a Shelley poem called The Hymn to Nature. And here's what Leo says: Life of life, thy lips enkindle with their love the breath between them. And thy smiles before they dwindle make the cold air fire, and screen them in those looks where whoso gazeth faints, entangled in their mazes. Child of light, thy limbs are burning through the vest which seems to hide them, as the radiant lines of morning through the clouds ere they divide them. And this atmosphere divinest shrouds thee wheresoe'er thou shinest. Fair are others, none beholds thee. But thy voice sounds low and tender like the fairest, for it folds thee from the sight, that liquid splendor, and all feel, yet see thee never, as I feel now, lost forever. Lamp of earth, where'er thou movest, its dim shapes are clad with brightness, and the souls of whom thou lovest walk upon the winds with lightness, till they fail as I am failing, dizzy, lost, yet unbewailing. Okay, Crowley liked those two poems, and he liked them in that spot, in the transition from Mars to the sun, and I think that's a sort of subtle but fitting description of what's going on with our relationship with the sun today. I'm sure I don't have to remind you that the sun's not doing anything but being the sun at the moment. It's us that's going like that, that's making it look like this. But I tell you, when the earth is doing that and the sun is doing what it does on this day, I recall a few years where this moment triggered great joy. And I'd be lucky if I could recapture that and amplify that for the rest of my year. Anyway, that's it for today. Continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love and do well.